Okay, Dan, one of the things we've been talking about is control in relationships, and when one partner really seems bent on controlling the other, like from everything from what you're wearing to where you go to who your friends are, to who you talk to on the phone, and having to see one's phone messages, really tying somebody in very tight. What would be your best recommendation in a situation like that?
Hit the ejection button.
Hit the ejection button, okay.
I mean, we're both in the business of hope, and so the idea is you really want to do everything you can to look at a relationship and make it work and everything else. But if there's a systematic oppression, and you really are feeling like, your friends have been cut off, you really don't have a sense of self, then this happens in two layers mostly, where you get some support for yourself. That could be either through therapy. If you're a woman, you go to a women's center. In other words, you try to get a support network. And the same is true for men. It's just that there are just more women's centers now these days. And the idea is get some support, because you're going to need to get away from that, because it's like entirely eclipsing your personhood, and that won't work.
And it can be quite scary.
Very.
Because when somebody is truly invested in controlling another person, often what happens is the finances get cut off, the friendships get cut off, the family gets cut off, and now the partner feels totally stuck. And if she or he tries to get out, then there are terrible consequences in fights, maybe abuse, and often that cycle is then the next stage of that cycle is making up and apologizing, but the cycle starts again. And once somebody's been through 2 or 3 cycles of that, I agree, hit the eject. Because nothing's going to happen as long as that intensity is in that relationship. Something has to move first. And sometimes when people separate, then there's an opportunity to try and make it different. But not as long as the two are engaged like that.
There's that cycle, I'm sure you know about that, where after a really tough encounter, and this is particularly true with men who are abusive or controlling, they do something called undoing. And it means that they kind of use gifts or sweetness, and it looks like, just forget about that. But then that starts to cycle up again. And
it's easy to be suckered in, by the way, because it is so sweet. It's like that old nursery rhyme, when she's good, she's very good, and when she's bad, he's horrid. But it can look like hope. Oh, he's really apologized this time, he really didn't mean it. Okay, but again, if it happens more than a few times, now it's a cycle, and that's when it's time to pull oneself out of that situation, right?
I agree.
Yeah.